Hey, what's up? You're listening to Music Posting. I'm Alex.
And I'm Astrid, and today we're doing something a little different. Instead of reviewing an epic album, we're gonna do a little reprieve. We're gonna go and look at all the albums we kind of liked in 2023 and make a little top 5, both Alex and I. And, just a little background, a quick little shout out. We were at a show this past weekend, and so that's kind of the reason we're doing a little bit of a reprieve episode.
Yeah, we can talk more about that, but it's funny, because I was thinking about it. It came up in a conversation, and I was like, wait, normally don't people do their like best of 2023 things like first week of January or like end of December?
Yeah, we're a little late to it, but look, cut us some slack, okay? I was doing my first live show, which was
Let's go.
Really, really fun. And technically Alex's first live show too, even though it was just a little snippet at the end. But
let's go.
I feel like we should be able to say this. Like, we want to try to play live more. So if you have any ins in a major city at a big venue, hit us up.
Yeah,
that's kind of our goal. We both want to play some live.
Yeah, we'll slide you a little like cheese under the table. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, a little cheddar, a little Mr. Cheddar.
Would you happen to be a rat? Because I think you would love the cheddar we have. It's dry.
We got a smorgasbord of cheddar.
We've also got mozzarella.
Mozzarella.
We've got
not just
Monterey
matzah,
Jack.
mozzarella.
Yeah, mozzarella. We got Gouda, very Gouda. Just like our performance could
which
be
will be a Gouda time. And a quick shout out. When this comes out, this Friday the 12th, I think I have my new album comes out tomorrow. So
damn.
Yeah, Lilac Boy Dissident Blue. It'll come out tomorrow. Any streaming service, Bandcamp, wherever. Just look it up. You'll find it. If you want to hear it right now, you can listen to the 3 singles that are already out that have been releasing. But yeah, the album will be out tomorrow, so check that out if you're interested. And yeah,
killing it, Astrid.
But yeah, I'm killing it. But yeah, we did a show. It was really cool. Probably some of you listening were there. I met like 40 fucking people or something. It was crazy. We met 40 fucking people. It was fun. Do you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, everyone was so nice. You have like one of the most respectful crowds I've ever seen.
Yeah, everyone was just so sweet. Like, that was the best part. 100% was just how sweet people were.
People were helping take down equipment at the end too, like moving the drum kit and everything.
I was always scared of meeting the people that like my stuff. It was the first time I'd ever done that. And I don't know why I was. We actually have like the coolest people ever on our side. We're unstoppable. Yeah. The music posting and the Lilac Boy and the Alex Unknown and the Astrid Starheads, they are all cool.
Shout out to you guys. Thank you again so much for being there, for giving us some of your precious time, for making the trek out in the snow too. It was snowing.
In the snow. It was snowing. The nor'easter snow of the Northeast. And hopefully Alex and I can do more stuff in the future, more live shows. But stay tuned. We'll see. We'll see what the future holds. Maybe one day we'll be doing music posting panels at Comic-Con, who fucking knows? We're crazy. We're unstoppable. We're actually invincible.
If we did a music panel, that would I think I would die and go to, in a good way, you know what I mean?
Where are you gonna go? Limbo, hell, or heaven?
I just I don't know where I would go. I don't know where I belong, but
yeah, just the hypothetical after.
Just the I hope there's lots of cheese slide under the table.
Smorgasbord of cheese, of cheddar, of Gouda. Yeah. Well, let's get into the meat. We're talking about our.
That was good. That was really good.
You like that?
Yeah, that was good.
Let's get into the meat. Let's talk about 2023 as a whole. It was for me personally, it was kind of like a shallow listening period for me, and that doesn't mean that I like listen necessarily to less new albums. I actually counted it, and I listened to 48 albums that came out in 2023 over the course of the year.
Holy moly!
Yeah, so I guess I listened to like an album every, what is that? I don't know, 7 days? Every week.
Well, no, more than every week, because...
Well, there's like 52 weeks, 48 albums. It's like once a week.
Oh, yeah. Why did I think there were 36 weeks?
Yeah, life is crazy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I listen to like an album a week, a new album a week, and that's like pretty normal for me. But I didn't listen to a lot of like old music as much, which is normally what I do more of. But also like a lot of the albums I listen to, like the new stuff, like didn't really grab me. And like a lot of stuff wasn't bad. I just didn't have like a lot of albums that I really loved. Like I feel like, and we'll get to it obviously. I feel like on my list, even in my top 5, like really only the top 2 or 3 were like albums that I really, really repeated, like had on repeat en masse, which is kind of weird for me because I feel like usually I have more. So I don't know, maybe 2023 was kind of a mid-year for me for music personally. What about for you? Like before we get into the list, how was 2023 to you musically?
I also thought it was a bit of a slower year.
Yeah.
In terms of releases, there weren't too many releases that I was, especially excited about. I felt like maybe people were holding on to their stuff. I feel like the even-numbered years usually go harder. That's just my personal theory. I don't know if that's true.
No, I agree. I would say I even would go a step further. I think every 4 years, during that presidential cycle where everyone's just going insane, that's where shit comes out. Like, think about 2016, 2020, 2024. Those are big years.
Yeah. So hopefully this is going to be a big year, which is not to say there weren't good albums, that there weren't any good albums not coming out, if that made sense, last year.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I thought there were a bunch of great albums. Just, I wasn't put in as deep of a chokehold as I was compared to other years. Yeah, my top 5, I didn't particularly rank it in any particular order. I just enjoyed these albums very much. I also have some honorable mentions if you want to get into that.
Yeah, before we get into the honorable mentions, I also wanted to say, although I didn't experience maybe as crazy of a music year in terms of new releases, I will say I think 2023 was the year of like going to see music live, which I'll kind of get to because some of my top picks, kind of relate to that because I saw some of those people live. This is like actually the first year that I went and saw music live, like as an adult. Like I went as a kid to stuff, but it was never something I was interested in. I always just tagged along. But like this was like the first year where I actually like got out of my shell and walked my way to venues and actually tried to listen to stuff live. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, actually, I can relate to that as well. It started in the summer. I was in France, and I went to Lala Paris with a friend.
Ooh.
And that kind of like really kicked it off. And then since coming back in the summer, I probably went to like 5 or 6 shows.
That's true. You have been going to a lot of shows, it seems like. You're always I feel like I'm always talking to you. I'm like, hey, how's your day? You're like, yeah, I'm at the underscore show. I'm like, what?
Yeah. No, I figure life is too short. It's good to get some live music while you can.
So we both touched grass last year. That's great.
We both touched grass, which was fantastic. And you know what? I took myself to these shows. I didn't go with anyone. I just went by myself. And honestly, that was like a sick experience.
Hell yeah. Good for you. Well, you want to do honorable mentions?
Yeah. So in no particular order again, I have 5 honorable mentions because I didn't want to, make it a huge list. I'm sure there are a bunch of albums on here that I just didn't include but should be on here. So in no particular order, Guts by Olivia Rodrigo.
I see.
Honestly, just a very fun album.
You did like that album. You were talking about it a lot.
Yeah, it's just very fun, very like let it out, scream it if you want. Desire, I Want to Turn Into You, Caroline Polachek.
That's a good one.
It's a fantastic album. I only caught it at the end of 23, which is why it is not in my top 5. I think if I had more time with it to replay, it would easily be one of my top albums. Ooh. I loved Pang. I thought that this was an improvement on Pang.
Yeah, definitely.
Which was so exciting. So excited to see where else Caroline Polachek goes. Love this album. Love it to bits. I'm probably going to get it on vinyl. Of course, I have to mention Let's Start Here by Lil Yachty. So many fun songs. Completely changed his sound. Lots of great memories. Love that album. Wallsocket from Underscores. Another fantastic album. This one I played a lot.
I'm surprised. I thought that was going to be on your top 5. That was the one that I thought you would put on your top 5 because you do talk about that one a lot.
I do. It's so good. It's so fun.
Now I'm excited because now I don't know as much of what you're. I thought honestly the Olivia Rodrigo and the Underscores were gonna be in your top 5. So now I'm kind of curious. This is kind of exciting.
Yeah. Well, it was so hard to pick my actual top 5. I'm sure this top 5 is like I could easily replace. Yeah, I could easily replace any honorable mention. But yeah, Underscores was fantastic. The live shows was amazing. April is such like an inspiration as a producer. and she is just so talented. Yeah, she is so great. Quick shout out to Today I Laid Down by Black Market Cart, which is an EP.
That's the only one so far. I've not heard of that. What is that?
It's like a slacker rock shoegaze EP.
Oh.
And it's very sweet, but also a little crushing at the same time. You know, we've got songs like there's this song about like morning texts, which is just so sweet. The album
the
cover.
Alex thing I've ever heard. That's so you, Core. No, but I respect it. I need to listen to this. I haven't heard of this.
Yeah, I think you would like it. It's got like a cat on the cover, just chilling, laying down.
Now it's Astrid Core too.
It's just a very cozy. It's a very cozy EP. I like it a lot. We've got Quaranta by Danny Brown as my honorable mention. And my final honorable mention is Paths by G. Jones. He's an electronic producer. Paths was, again, improvement on his last album, I think. The live show was also incredible. It is just it was so beautiful. It went so hard when it needed to go hard, immaculately produced, and it is just overall like a fantastic electronic album.
I haven't heard that one either. So those last two, I gotta do some digging myself through the crates.
Yeah, those are my honorable mentions. How about you?
I'll go through mine a little quickly. I also had the Underscores album on my honorable mentions, as well as the Danny Brown album. Obviously, we talked about Quaranta in our episode 1, so you can go there to see more of what we thought. I had the 100 Gecs album in there because I mean that while it wasn't like the most wow album ever, I did think it was pretty much about as good as their opening album, and I had a lot of fun with it. And I saw them live this year too, and I honestly think they're one of the coolest acts to see live. Like they're just fun. Like the audience is so freaking cool. Yeah. So I think that's part of why it makes it on my honorable mentions. Because like
I hadn't checked that one out.
Yeah, you haven't listened to the new Gecs?
No, I haven't.
Dang, maybe we should review it, honestly, just to make you listen to it.
I'm down. Yeah. Sorry, I cut you off there.
No, you're good. I'm all for a discussion. Just a few other mentions. We had there was a new Ada Rook album. I liked the Earl Sweatshirt and the Alchemist album. One that I really liked was I have no idea how to say this name, but they also go by like Gecs, but this one was under a new name. It was like Goyard something said. I don't know how you say that. Someone could tell me in the comments, but they had one called Goyard Comin Exordium. And in my opinion, that's like the most inventive rap like right now at all. Like I think that their shit is really cool. This one wasn't maybe as crazy as some of their other stuff, but definitely check that out if you're into like very experimental beats and just like really forward boundary pushing rap music and sampling.
I think I heard a single from the album you're describing.
Yeah.
And I remember you telling me that they were taking, it was like $50 for a feature. I didn't jump on that, but maybe I should have.
You really should have. You really should.
Yeah.
They're going to be famous. They're going to be famous one day, if they're not already. But yeah, and then also the PinkPantheress album was I really liked a lot. I have a feeling that might be on your top 5, but maybe I'm wrong. But that album was really good. I really liked the stuff leading up to that. Like I think they had like a mixtape before, and it was exciting to like finally get like a full cool album of that scope, and that was really good. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the PinkPantheress album was great, and shout out to her for reviving like garage and two-step.
Yo, heck yeah. So those are my honorable mentions. Let's get into our top 5, our epic top 5. Mine is kind of in an order somewhat, not really. Alex's, like he said, is not really in an order, but why don't you talk about one of your top 5 albums of 2023?
Yeah, I just it was too hard for me to order it because the albums that I did really like this year, I really liked. Again, I could easily like replace anything in my honorable mentions. It's in general just very difficult for me to rank things, usually.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, so in no particular order, the first album I want to mention is Softscars by Yeule.
Yeah, I knew this one was going to be on here. You were talking about Yeule all year.
Yeah, I was also so lucky to catch Yeule live. It was so serendipitous because I just discovered their album. So basically, the way I discovered them was Spotify recommended me their single Sulky Baby, which is probably one of my favorite singles of all time or this year.
Hell yeah.
It is just so good, and it made me want to check out the album. And then after listening to it a few times, I saw that they were playing a show. Like it was a very spontaneous decision. I saw they were playing a show, and I bought a ticket and went the same day or the next day.
I remember that. That was so cool.
Yeah, I love when things work out like that. But this album was such an interesting blend of like grunge and rock and electronic. Like Yule had such an interesting vision for this album. They have a background as a visual artist as well, and I think that definitely shines through in some of their production choices because it almost feels like they're world building. I would say honestly, Astrid, you would love this album.
I listened to that one because of your recommendation, because you seem so into it, and it was pretty good. Fellow non-binary.
Yeah, so Yule explores they explore a lot of really interesting themes as well. Like I think I'm still trying to figure out what the album is about, but I think it's mostly about like toxic love or love that hurts you. But they also explore themes of like self-harm. They also explore themes of being non-binary.
Hell yeah.
They're also like a very online person. Like I think they play a lot of Final Fantasy 14.
Fuck yeah.
And one of the songs on the album, which happens to be one of my favorites, Ghosts, I think they produced on a Twitch stream.
Whoa, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and they have like a Discord server where they were like programming like a Discord cat.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so they're just overall a really interesting artist, visually engaging, sonically engaging, blended so many cool sounds together. I think there are a couple tracks that sound a bit out of place just because of how hard the first half goes. It's very like aggressive and in your face, and then there's a couple tracks that are a little more different in a very subdued way. They're a welcome like reprieve from all of the craziness that goes on in the first half, but sometimes they do feel a bit out of place, which is not to say they're not good. They're fantastic songs, but yeah. I adored this album. I still listen to it. It's on repeat all the time. I actually got it signed on vinyl when they were playing, and
that's so cool.
I love this album so much. It's probably like I can't gush enough about it. I'm gonna just do a little more gushing.
Go for it, gush away.
It's like this really interesting. They grew up on like Smashing Pumpkins, and like you can definitely hear a lot of
shout out to the Korg, Billy Korg.
Yeah, you can hear a lot of that early 2000s rock inspiration.
Yeah, I definitely get a lot of Y2K vibes. Not to cut into you too much. Like I feel like it's very early 2000s for sure.
Yeah, it was very early 2000s, but they also have like very punchy lyrics. Their lyrics are always so like honest and direct. I don't know. I don't know what else I could say. I just love this album.
Hell yeah.
Please listen to Softscars if you're listening to this.
Yeah, I gotta listen to it again. To be honest, I've only listened to it that once, and I need to go back and return to it. I think my favorite part aesthetically is definitely like just the song titles and the album cover. Like the album cover has like a vacuum sucker tube thing like over the shoulder, and the album titles are like Aphex Twin Flame and like Cyber Meat. That's like, I don't know, I like that. It's very me. I like that shit. Cyber
Meat has such an infectious hook.
Yeah, Cyber Meat is good.
Cyber Meat is fantastic. My favorites, it's hard to pick favorites, but Sulky Baby, Softscars, For You I Want To, which is apparently like a popular internet term overseas. It literally means like, for you, I want to.
Oh, that's cute.
It's very cute. Ghosts, Daisies.
You're just naming every song. Yeah. My favorite song is XWX Sulky Babies.
That one was so good too. Yeah, no, and lyrically it's really interesting. Like, I'm sorry, you're going to have to edit some of this down.
No, I don't think we need to edit at all. I think it's cool to see you gushing about it.
Lyrically, there's like a lot of interesting stuff like on Inferno. Like it's about how they have this person that they're like describing like, I'm putting my hands over the fire to like keep you warm, if I'm remembering correctly. And like, they're not telling this person, but it's really a lot about like the ways you will harm yourself to like make someone else happy in like that toxic sort of love environment.
Like people pleasing kind of shit.
There's some people pleasing going on in this album. There's also like, I mean, you know, one of the standout lyrics is all this love I have for you has made soft scars. All this love I have for you has cut me like a blade. And I'm not looking at the lyrics right now, so if I'm misquoting, I'm sorry, but it's very much when love hurts kind of thing.
Hell yeah. So that's your number 5. Definitely ranked, right? That's ranked. That's your number 5.
No, not ranked.
This feels like it's almost your favorite. Now I'm excited to see what you have to say about the other things.
It might disappoint you on it. Like maybe this is my favorite of 2023.
I knew that you were into this one. I definitely, this is like one of the ones that I did expect to see on this list.
Yeah.
But like I said, there were 2 on the honorable mentions that I expected to be on here. So I'm like actually very curious to see. I mean, like partly what's cool about this is that I'm going to hopefully get some music recommendations from you. Hopefully also from like the people that are watching this that leave some comments.
Oh yeah, please do.
Yeah. Well, my number 5, which, you know, is totally definitely super ranked. I had Maps from Billy Woods and Kenny Segal, which I actually re-listened to today, you know, to kind of get myself reacquainted to. Did you listen to that album?
I heard a lot of people telling me I should, and I did not listen to it.
Yeah, this album is very relatable now that I've played a live show, because it's all about, in my opinion, like the neurotic to and from each show, like getting up in a flight and Ubering to the venue. Like there's a standout line that's like, I spent $200 just to Uber to the venue, so I didn't have to like hang out with other people, like that kind of shit. Just a neurotic shit that comes along with playing shows, and just how much that goes into it, and just how much it can kind of whittle you down is what I kind of take from this album. So it's actually more relatable to me now, like after this weekend that I just experienced. But you know, it's also about, you know, the coolness of live shows and how expressive it can be. So I really like that kind of vibe of it. The album cover is just like those like it's like, it looks like a brochure and like an airplane, which is really funny because whenever I'm in an airplane, like I always pull that thing out and like go through it. I'm like the only person on the plane that's doing it, because every time I get on a plane, I'm like, okay, this is the one that's gonna kill me. So I really like the aesthetic of that. The one that always makes it
cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Not to cut you off, but you know, by reading the airplane brochure, you are increasing your chances.
I guess so, right?
Like single-handedly, it can increase your chances by like a huge amount. Anyways, that's all I wanted to say.
The one that always makes me laugh, their facial expressions on those brochures are always really funny. like their faces will just be like blank, like NPC. You know, even though they're like jumping out of a plane. Or, you know, it's anyway. The brochures are really funny, so I like that aesthetic.
Yeah,
the jazzy,
it is cool.
The jazzy instrumentals on this are really good. Gets kind of like, you know, and this is going to be a super normie take, because again, you know, as we established in kind of the opener, I'm kind of like a hip hop novice. I'm really into Nujabes or Nujabes, however you say that. I'm like really into him, even though I still don't know how to say his name.
I think just Nujabes.
Nujabes? See, I've never even heard that. Okay,
yeah.
Nujabes. We'll do that. I don't know. Someone's gonna yell at us in the comments, but
maybe Nujabes.
Maybe there's no
Nujabes. I don't know.
Well, now you've said it 2 different ways now. Nujabes or Nujabes? Okay, well,
I've always said it Nujabes.
I've always said Nujabes, and so I don't know who fucking knows, but I always really like the jazzy instrumentals in rap. I feel like they just give a vibe of sort of just a calmness that I can kind of sit through, like in the background. I'll often just put on like a Nujabes record, Nujabes, whatever the fuck, on, you know, vinyl, and just kick back. Yeah, whatever. Kick back and just have a good time. And this album kind of has like a similar vibe to me, but the lyrics are much less positive than a Nujabes. They're very, like I mentioned, very neurotic, and I also relate to that because I'm neurotic as fuck. So yeah, this one's just really good. I really, really liked this. It's definitely up there, and I think anyone that's into, you know, some jazzy rap should definitely listen to it. I don't really know anything about Billy Woods or Kenny Segal. I'm not gonna lie, this is my introduction to both of them. So if anyone knows of their old stuff that is really good, let me know. I know people really like Hiding Places.
I was going to recommend Hiding Places.
Yeah, I need to listen to that. So yeah, really good stuff. Really good stuff. Highly recommend.
Cool. Okay, so I got to check out Maps because I missed this one.
Yeah.
I loved Hiding Places, so maybe I check out Maps.
Maybe.
Yeah, again, in no particular order, my next one.
Number 4.
Scaring the Hose.
Hell yeah.
By JPEGMAFIA and Danny Brown. This one came out really early in the year. And it was just such a fun listen the whole way through. I remember a lot of people were like complaining about how it was mixed and mastered. Yeah, but I actually did understand kind of what people were saying, but I never found it was too problematic. And I mean, especially listening to it now, it sounds amazing. It is so much fun. There is not one dull moment on this album. The sampling is so inventive and creative. The lyrics and wordplay also so inventive and creative. You can tell they're both just like having such a good time. No, it was really interesting. You know, it also featured Red Veil, which I thought was so cool, who's like an up and coming artist, very creative and inventive as well. Perfect is such an amazing victory song, or like it almost feels like, you know, when you win, it's like you got to play Perfect, or it's like the victory lap song, or like, I don't know, it's just it's a lot of fun. It's got like these blaring horns.
I love that one.
Yeah, there's some some really funny lyrics too, like on Jack Harlow Combo Meal,
which by the way is a funny title in and of itself.
It is a funny title in itself. I think he's talking about like, how are you gonna let Jack Harlow sell you chicken? It's really funny. Yeah, I it's just a nonstop thrill ride. It sounds a lot like how that album cover looks. Like it's just fun, creative, inventive. It was a breath of fresh air.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might have a little bit more to say about that one later. Stay tuned. Ooh, spoilers.
Is it your top album of the year?
I mean, we'll see. We'll see.
It's your number one album.
My number 4, and mine are kind of ranked, so I get to go number 4. This one is going to be really funny to read out. This is from Ronan, in quotation marks, Mr. Sauceman, end quotation marks, De Castel, comma, ClascyJitto, and Post Elvis's Pizza Tower. Do you know anything about this before I get into it, Alex?
No, okay. I don't know a single thing about this.
As I describe, maybe it'll come to you. This is the soundtrack for the video game Pizza Tower, which came out this past year. Have you heard of that video game?
I still have not.
That's totally fair. Yeah, just for anyone who's unaware, because I guess Alex is too, Pizza Tower is an indie game that almost won Indie Game of the Year. It should have won, in my opinion. But it's a platformer game with a really sort of charmy kind of vibe in the style of sort of those old like Wario games, and you know it's for the hyper online. I think it's tailored for the hyper online, so it probably makes more sense that I know what it is and Alex maybe doesn't. But if anyone likes,
calling not hyper online?
No, but that game is pretty fun. But admittedly, I haven't played that much of the game. I actually just mostly listen to the soundtrack, and it's just purely here on my list for the badassery of it. Like, it's like 73 tracks long.
Oh my god.
I'm not going to even pretend that I've listened to every single one, okay? Like, I've just listened to a lot of the songs here and there randomly, and I just love it. Like, the soundtrack is very beautiful no matter what track you open. It's very fun. It's silly. It's wacky. It's funky. And honestly, like, in my opinion, it should go into the conversation for, like, best video game soundtracks. Like, you know, maybe it's not number 1, but definitely like top 10, maybe even top 5. People were listening to the tracks from this game before the game even came out. They would get circled around from like various demos or like Twitch streams, and like people would get rips of them. And I just really like it. And I think music is really important to how a video game completes its vibe and feel. I feel like that should be part of the conversation too. I mean, there are some games that wouldn't be nearly as popular without their soundtracks to complete them. I mean, I know it's a classic like sort of go-to example, but C4118's music is, you know, to the feel and success of Minecraft's success, at least especially like early on, and its vision. Those early tracks that would pop up, like those ambient tracks that would pop up when you're just like mining, and after like 15 minutes of silence, you know, it's like dun, 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 dun. You're like, that completes the vibe. Like, without that soundtrack, you know, maybe Minecraft would be in a different place. And that's how I feel about the Pizza Tower OST. I think it's like the main reason I even like played the game, honestly, is because I just really liked the tracks.
Yeah, I'm looking through the track list, and some of these names are very fascinating. The Death That I Deserve Yeule.
Yeah, so it's a game about a pizza chef, a pizza cook, and he's just going around, sliding around, collecting pizza toppings. And so all the tracks are, you know, just about pizza and shit like that.
That is amazing.
But I'll admit, I'm a fake gamer. I've only played like the first world or two. I'm mostly just familiar with the soundtrack. It's hard for me to finish games these days. But yeah, I like that the tracks have a lot of like remixes. Like there's like secret level tracks. Like my favorite tracks are probably the secret levels, because like there's ones called like A Secret Under the Abyss or Under the Debris, or A Hidden Pepperoni in the Cage, which is a banger track name. Those tracks like vibe with you the most. They're just so like acidic. I don't know, like just like you feel like you're high listening to them even though you're not. Those are really good, the secret level tracks. And I just feel like the team at Pizza Tower should be really proud of not only the game they made, but the soundtrack. It's just really good. It encapsulates the silly adventure of pizza and pepperoni. And just shout out to the Pizza Tower folks. That one was fun. Yeah.
Maybe I should check this one out. It does sound like
maybe you don't need to listen to all 80 tracks or whatever, but just like check out a couple tracks. It's very, very silly.
You mean I don't need to spend 3 hours and 15 minutes?
Yeah, I forgot to mention it is technically the album is a 3-hour listen, so I don't really expect anyone to go and listen to that maybe, but check out some tracks. Maybe the ones I listened or mentioned specifically. They're fun.
Amazing. Perfect. Okay. Yeah. I'll check out some select tracks from Pizza Tower.
Hell yeah.
Soundtrack. This is what a great like honestly this choice is so unapologetically you. I love that. Yeah, this is perfect. Next on my list, again in no particular order.
I'm so excited.
Do you want to take a guess?
Oof. No, because I don't know. Like you've now said Scaring Those. You've already said Yeule. Like I don't know.
I'll hit you with it. I'm gonna put Javelin by Sufjan Stevens on my list.
Oh, you liked that. I didn't know if you liked that.
Yeah, I thought it was honestly it was beautiful. There was a period of time where every time I put this album on, I would cry.
Aw.
I cried like maybe 5 or 6 times to this album, and then I would be fine, and then I would listen to it again like 3 weeks later, and then I would cry again. It is so tastefully produced. It's like this really great blend of folk music with like electronic highlights, and it is so elegant in its delivery and execution. It sounds like a celebration of life when it needs to. So for context, this album is about Sufjan Stevens' late partner who passed away. So it's got grief, it's got loss, but it's also got these like intense triumphant sounding moments. There's some songs on here that are just absolutely devastating, like Will Anybody Ever Love Me is one of the songs. It sounds like how the title sounds, like we've got it's about acceptance and like, is anyone ever gonna love me for who I really am? Is anyone gonna stick by my side? Type of thing. We've got this one song, Shit Talk, is so well written because on first glance it feels like it's a song it feels like a breakup song, but what it really is about, especially once you know the context of the album, is it's about letting go of his late partner who has passed away, and like trying to move forward past that grief, trying to move forward past the resistance of still just like just trying to get to a place of acceptance for someone that you truly care about so much. There's this interlude track, Javelin. I listen to that song all the time. It is so beautiful. It has this really soft guitar. I was just completely blown away by this album. It is such an expression of it is just heartfelt expression at its purest form. I just thought it was gorgeous. It was stunning. So that's why this album is on my list. It is just such a beautiful album that will make you think, it'll make you ponder, it'll make you feel things. And I think it's important for anyone to listen to, in my opinion. I think,
heck yeah.
Maybe a hot take, I think listening to this album will make you a better person.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a piece of shit now because I listened to this album and I just didn't get it. Like I didn't know I didn't really know what it was about, and to be honest, I must have not really paid attention all that much because I didn't even know that it was like about grief and whatnot. I think I put this on one day after it came out because everyone was just talking about it, and I was like, okay, I wonder what this is, and I put it on in the background, and so I just didn't pay attention to it. And I think that must have been why I didn't hate it. I just didn't necessarily like come away from it thinking anything. So I need to go back and listen to this because I didn't even understand that at all, like what it was about. So this has me wanting to re-listen to it because I know like everyone loves that album. You know, like it was a very, very popular album from this past year. So I need to go back to it.
I think it's worth it, and I don't think it makes you a bad person if you don't get it, just to clarify. But yeah, I just think there's some very beautiful writing, some very beautiful composition. Like So You Are Tired, the piano that opens, it is just so... it makes your soul sing. This is music for your soul. It's gorgeous. I love this album.
Heck yeah.
I don't know what else I could say. I'm very into it.
Sweet. Are you ready for my number 3?
I am.
Okay.
Hit me.
My number 3 is the album Knower Forever from Knower. Did you listen to this one?
I did not.
So this I also listened to today again, just to kind of get myself, reacquainted with it. And it was like a lot better than I even remembered. So it actually kind of moved up my list, like as I was listening to it. This is from 2 artists. It's like 2 artists that are doing sort of they have like a collab group that they make albums like every once in a while. Like their last album that they had made was called Life in 2016. So it had been a long time.
Is this the one that has it has Lewis Cole?
Yeah, the clowncore guy.
That dude. Okay, I have listened to Knower before. I just haven't listened to this album in particular.
Yeah, so I have not listened to Knower before until this album, but I had listened to clowncore. And if anyone knows what do you know what clowncore is actually?
I have heard of clowncore, but I'm familiar with Lewis Cole because I listened to his like solo material a lot.
Interesting.
Like, I listened to Time on repeat in 2018.
Yeah, I've never listened to that. I know people like that. Lewis Cole is part of this 2-piece group called Clowncore, and they do this. It's basically shitpost music. It's the most it's music in a shitpost form. They did an entire album that was recorded in a porta potty. And then they did an entire album that was recorded in a van while it was moving with somebody else driving.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's just one person's drumming, the other person's playing the sax, or they have like a keyboard. And when they do vocals, like they just like scream. They're like blah 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 blah, and then like the lyrics on the screen like say something like completely insane that they're obviously not saying.
That's amazing.
I saw them live.
Amazing.
Yeah, I saw them live this past year. They literally started their set in a porta potty. There was just a porta potty on the stage. You didn't see them walk out into it. They were already in it when it started, and you're in there waiting for an hour, like, are they in the porta potty? And then the porta potty breaks out, and they were in it the whole fucking time. Like, I imagine, like, they were probably sweaty as fuck, and then they just go into it. It was crazy. It was an experience. Anyway, this isn't about clowncore. This is about Knower. This group has Lewis Cole, and then it also has Genevieve Artadi. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, which I don't know anything about them. They kind of do the vocals on this album. And it came out in June. I never heard of them before. It's a synth funk record, and it has some jazzy instrumentals that sometimes are kind of clowncore adjacent, just, because that's what I'm coming at this from, but sometimes just more like actual like instrumentation, jazzy instrumentation. It's just the grooviest thing I've ever listened to. I dance constantly when I listen to this. It's a very confusing record at the get-go because the first track is like just this Neon Genesis Evangelion like orchestral shit that you're like what the fuck is this? Like you think it's going to be like a symphony album or something. But after that, which it's good by the way, but after that track it's like nothing like that. It's just a bunch of groovy songs. And yeah, you just have like random piano interludes or songs that are constantly evolving, and then there's like a ton of sax solos. And it doesn't feel masturbatory either. Like, and honestly, like, fuck that term anyway. Like, music is very rarely actually masturbatory. Like, I think if someone's having fun, like, let them have an 18-minute, sax solo. Like, who cares?
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like I get really peeved when people say that.
Yeah, like, this is pretentious. This is masturbatory. Like, it's just, they're having fun. Like, as long as you're having fun, have fun.
I think you should say, oh, this feels pretentious for me. It's not for me because maybe someone else is going to enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like, it's too much for you, but that doesn't mean the whole thing is too much.
Either way, this
music
like,
is so subjective.
Yeah, for sure. Either way, this album like just really scratches my ADHD brain because it just goes in places constantly. Like, it doesn't feel repetitive ever, as most jazz never really does, at least to me, usually. But it's chaotic, it's just taking over every synapse in my brain. I'm letting it go in any direction it wants me to go in, and I'm enjoying the journey. It's like perfect for me in that way. What were you gonna say?
I actually looked through my library, and I have one song that I have liked by Nowhere called Overtime from Life.
Interesting.
And I remember listening to that song a lot. So
yeah, you would probably love this then.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna sink my teeth into Nowhere.
Yeah, I need to go back into the backs of their catalog, because this was my first Nowhere record. I'd really only come to this because they hadn't made something since 2016, and I like clowncore, and so I was like, oh, what's this, Lewis Cole? But yeah, just sick ass solos. The drums are also, should be mentioned, are really good. Like the percussion is just crazy. Tons of really cool drum fills. I always like when the percussion is really good, because I'm always kind of partial to percussion in pretty much every type of music. Some of my favorite tracks: Nightmare, It Will Get Real. The breakdown at the end of It Will Get Real is really cool. Like there's like this digital breakdown where it sounds like a video game, and then there's just this. It goes into like a saxophone solo.
I love that.
Yeah, and Bill Clinton could never.
Can we bring back saxophone solos?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Lewis Cole is bringing back the saxophone to the Zoomers.
We need more saxophone solos.
Yeah, the saxophone got written off. It was like, oh, this is like an instrument you play while you're having sex, but it should be like an instrument that the Zoomers can enjoy. Like this shit is fun as fuck, and the vocals are really fucking good too. Like Genevieve should be credited here. I don't know how much she had to do with it other than the vocals. I didn't really look, but her vocals are really fun. They're just really, really silly and chill, and honestly sometimes really beautiful. The track at the end, Crash the Car, is actually very, very pretty. Kind of more of a classic pop song vibe. Like it almost seems like something Michael Jackson would have sung when he was like really young. It's smooth, it's blissful. It's probably the vocal peak on the album. And then of course you got fucking sax at the end, because you have to have sax at the. There's pretty much like a sax solo at the end of like 75% of the songs, so that's good.
That's how it should be.
That's how it should be. Restoring balance to the sax world. Yeah, it's cathartic, fun music where the two people involved clearly know their instruments in and out, and they're just allowing themselves to express and go sicko. It's good art pop, good jazzy, good groove synth. Check it out if you like anything like that. One of my favorite albums of the year.
Yeah, I'll check it out for sure. I'm a huge fan of Lewis Cole, so yeah. My fourth album pick, again in no particular order. I think once I say this one, you will
it's gonna come to me.
Yeah,
okay.
I think it's gonna feel very obvious, but I have to put Lahai on here by Sampha.
Oh my god, I forgot about Sampha. I actually didn't even know Sampha put out an album this year.
Yeah, so this album, it was I feel like every artist that I like that has put out music this year, they have improved on their music. It's so this album, it is so warm and inviting and cozy, and it's got like this really cool garage instrumentation. The percussion, if you love percussion, you will love this album. It is so like punchy, but still like soft and delicate, which I feel like reflects a lot of the lyrical content on this album. This album is a lot about connections and the importance of connections, having connections with people, revisiting connections. Also made me cry.
That's fair.
This album has some very beautiful lyrics, as well as some lyrics that are very like personally significant to me. There's like these strings that are just so beautiful. There's this beautiful feature by Leia Sen on What If You Hypnotize Me, which What If You Hypnotize Me, the production there is like, holy moly. It's just out of this world, to be honest. It is such ear candy. If you are into production, you need to check out this album. I also love Suspended Spirit 2.0, Dancing Circles. Those are some highlights for me. It's also like a very personal album to Sampha in terms of like some of the subject matter he goes into. Like he talks about his kid and just like how much that changed his life, or it feels like a family gathering in an album, if I can put it that way. And I think the last track kind of captures that, Rose Tint. It talks about like, hey, let's all gather around for this picture we're going to take. We're all here. It's like a very well-constructed, thoughtful oftentimes philosophical work. His lyrics are very existential at times. There's this one interlude where in French it just repeats, "Time is not real," or something. And there's like a lot of references to time too. And I just, his voice, by the way, I could not mention this album without bringing up his voice. His voice is so smooth. It is like butter.
Hell
It
yeah.
is like, it is one of the smoothest voices around right now.
As someone who's not familiar with Sampha, is it like pop, or what would you describe like the genre?
I would say it's more R&B.
Okay.
But this album in particular is more like alternative R&B and like soul.
Okay.
Like there's garage, there's a lot of soul. Vocally feels like R&B, and a lot of I would say, yeah, it does fall under the R&B umbrella, but it's very comforting. It feels like a hug. I think this album is fantastic, and if you haven't checked out Sampha, you definitely should.
Maybe this is the time I finally go into the Sampha territory.
It's Sampha time.
It's Sampha time.
It is Sampha time.
Heck yeah. Okay. You know what? Yeah, I should have expected that. I honestly didn't know Sampha even put something out, but if I did know that, I would have thought, I would have guessed it, but I had no idea. Now there's a final album from you that I have no freaking idea what it is. This is exciting.
It might throw everyone listening for a loop.
Might be more exciting for me than a lot of the listeners, like hearing what you're talking about. But anyway, here's my number 2, my second favorite album of the year. It's Scaring the Hose. It's Scaring
Let's
the
go.
Hose. Yeah, Alex had already listed this one off, so I will try not to repeat some of the same things that Alex went over. But I feel like this was the coolest album of the year in terms of hype. Like, it was just really cool when it came out. Like, if you were online at all in pretty much any music circle, people were talking about this. It was just it was a really hype album.
It felt like an event.
It felt like an event. It was like the Super Bowl for music nerds. And Peggy and Danny Brown are, they're both really respected. Everyone loves their shit, and for good reason. And it was just really exciting to see what they would do, as a collaboration effort here. A lot of times, like, music collaborations can honestly really flop. At least from my background of listening to music collaborations, like in the context of rock music, I know a lot of super bands can just really suck ass. Like, you'd think, like, okay, let's put like Dave Grohl in a room with Neil Peart and like all this crap, and you're like, oh, it's gonna be amazing. But sometimes it's not. Like, you just put a bunch of super like creatives in a room, and they actually can't make something special because they're all just,
I think it's the ego.
It's the ego. It's everyone has their own way of making things, and sometimes it's just really hard to get everyone together, especially someone of that caliber or level or whatever prestige, and make something cool. But this album hits. Like, it's just really good. It was really fun seeing what everyone thought about it, but it was also just really, really fun listening to it because it's just actually good. Step a Pig is really good, goes hard. The sampling, I kind of, agree with what you said. That was my main complaint, was how Danny, was just kind of quiet. It's not in every track, at least when it came out, Obviously, they redid it as time went on, which is also a cool thing. I think more artists should do that, by the way. Like,
patch their albums.
Yeah, patch their albums. I know a couple artists that do that. I think that's really cool. Anyway, yeah, the Danny was like kind of quiet, but that was like really my only big complaint with it. Like, this album is pretty close to perfect. It's, maybe, looking at both of their entire catalogs, maybe the only thing I like more is Atrocity Exhibition, from Danny. But yeah. I think this is like, I like it more than anything Peggy's done. And that's not to say that Peggy's done bad things. Peggy's shit is really good. I just really like Scaring the Hose.
I don't think there's a single bad song on that album.
There's not a bad song. And
no,
it's just fun. It's just a really good vibe. I think my favorite ones are like the run up to like Kingdom Hearts Key and then God Loves You. Like, those 2 tracks are really, really good.
Yeah.
I also really like the title track Scaring the Hose, because it's just like the fucking brass with like the clapping. No other artist could fucking do that and make it work. That shit's fun as hell. I like the music video for it too. Yeah, I also saw them live. I saw them perform this live, which was one of the coolest experiences. That also felt like a cinematic experience. It felt like the fucking Super Bowl. That was cool as shit. Yeah, honestly, yeah. So that weekend I saw Danny Brown and Peggy, and they performed like Scaring the Hose as well as some of their solo stuff each, like all in the same night. It was like this crazy thing. And then the next night I saw Death Grips. And if you know anything about me,
that is wow.
Yeah, crazy. If you know anything about me, Death Grips is like my favorite shit. Honestly, Peggy and Danny Brown, I think were more fun to experience than Death Grips that weekend.
Oh my god.
And I've seen Death Grips multiple times, so like they've like the other show I saw Death Grips this year, they were a lot better. Maybe it's just the vibe of the venue like really has a big play on that. Like honestly, like people really smelled like shit in the Death Grips pit in Indianapolis. I don't know what's going on over in Indianapolis, but the Peggy and Danny Brown heads, they smelled much better. Like flowers and roses. But yeah, they were really fun live. Yeah, just really good album. You talked a lot about it too, so I don't want to go on for too long. Maybe we'll review it in the future. But they're thinking of making more, right? Is that what you were going to say?
Yeah, I was going to say weren't they going to make another one?
Yeah, I think they are. I think
project?
That's what they said. That will be really freaking hype. We'll definitely review that.
That I don't know when it will come out, but the success of Scaring the Hose speaks for itself.
Yeah.
I think it took everyone by surprise just how big it got and like how much it caught on. Even my friends who like aren't too invested in music and aren't too online, they were like, "Hey, did you hear this? Like, have you heard of this JPEGMAFIA guy and like this Scaring the Hose thing?"
That's awesome.
I was like, "Yeah, it's great."
Peggy especially feels like he's just always evolving. To me, I haven't been following him for as long as a lot of Peggy fans. I've listened maybe to the past 3 albums or 4 albums. To me, every single album has been better than the last one. I feel that way about Scaring the Hose too. Like I feel like Scaring the Hose to me was like more enjoyable than anything he had put out prior. So I'm also looking forward to like his solo stuff too, because I feel like he's just constantly improving and constantly evolving. I feel like we're gonna get to a fucking point where like Peggy is making just truly transcendental music, like just shit that like we can't even like it's like gonna be biblically accurate, like 5-eye, like open your mind palace type shit. He's very brilliant. Danny Brown's awesome. So yeah, just shout out to this album and shout out to both of those artists.
Maybe this is weird of me, but I actually liked All My Heroes Are Cornballs more than LP.
Interesting. I like All My Heroes Are Cornballs a lot. That was actually the first one that really stuck with me. I was like, this is like, now I'm really into Peggy.
I just really love the title track. The title track just really does it for me.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting about Peggy too is like all his album covers have like a mouse somewhere in there.
Wait, what?
Like after Veteran, they all have like a mouse hovering somewhere around.
Are you fucking with me?
I'm not. Even on Scaring the Hose, there's a mouse.
There's a mouse?
Like a cursor.
Oh, a cursor. Oh
yeah. No,
I thought you were talking about a real mouse. No, you're right. Yeah, there is a cursor. I actually didn't notice that either, though, the cursor. That's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. It's like a nice, interesting detail. I mean, for a guy named JPEGMAFIA, it makes sense, you know?
Yeah, his website's really cool, too. I don't know if you've looked at it.
No, I haven't seen it.
Wait, I think there's a cursor on Black Man Carson as well. Or is that what you said?
Is there one?
Yeah.
I couldn't find it.
If you look at, it's on, like, his neck below his ear. It's smaller.
Oh.
I think that's a
cursor.
cursor.
I think you're right. I think that is a cursor. Damn, okay.
So he's been doing this pretty much since he's been calling himself JPEGMAFIA, yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Shout out.
Shout out. I just started looking at the website. It is really cool.
It's cool. Good visual artist as well as a musician. As most good musicians are, honestly.
I think there's a big overlap between if you're, you know, art inclined, you're art inclined, I think.
Yeah. Let's hear it. Your final album of your top 5.
I will hear it. I absolutely 100% know what your top one is.
Yeah, probably.
The last one in my top 5, no particular order.
Your number 1.
Dancing Robots into Heaven by James Blake.
What?
Yeah.
I don't even know what this is.
So James Blake, he is.
Oh no, I remember you talking about James Blake. Okay.
Yeah, James Blake is he's like a producer kind of guy. He's like a musician's musician, you know what I mean? He produced a lot for Frank Ocean. More recently, he was working with Metro Boomin on the Spider-Man soundtrack.
Those are all names that you love so much.
Oh yes. You know, like he's also got his own stuff that is fantastic. A lot of people might know James Blake from Retrograde. That was like one of the earlier songs that really he kind of popped off with. But he's also worked with Kendrick Lamar and Travis Scott and SZA.
Dang.
There's a lot of, like, he is responsible for a lot of great music. Playing Robots into Heaven is just more him kind of like having fun. He's returning to his electronic music roots. I think the 3-track run of Asking to Break, Loading, and Tell Me is one of my favorite 3-track runs of all time.
Damn.
It is so much fun and beautiful. There are so many beautiful moments on this album, and also like from a production point of view, it is so interesting, like just how he plays with like noise, granulation, and he just he's got like this certain touch to him. Like, so for example, on Asking to Break, there's like this breakdown in the middle where he like plays a lot with white noise, and it just sounds so soft and like comforting and light. And he was saying like, oh yeah, like I cut out a lot of the low end of this album because I wanted it to sound very lifting, which I think is just like a very thoughtful, intentional detail. And honestly, having listened to this album so much, I tried putting a lot more attention to detail and effort into this current project that I'm working on that hasn't come out yet. But so yeah, it's just a very inspiring album for me. I love this album a lot. I recommend anyone take a listen to it.
Yo, heck yeah. Are you ready for my number one? You know what it is,
Yeah.
I think.
Can I guess it?
Guess it.
Well, I don't want to steal your thunder, so can I?
I'm going to say
give the
number
first-
one, and then you say what you think it is.
Could I? Are you sure? Because
I think that I'm 90% sure you have it.
Okay.
Number
sure.
one. My number one.
Ooh, Rapaya.
It's Ooh Rapaya by George
By
Clinton.
George-
Yeah, you know
yeah.
me too well. You know me too well.
I got you.
This was a big deal to me. I should give some context, some pretext here. George Clinton, sort of a chill wave, vaporwave guy who's made music for a very long time. He made music under different names. It used to go by Mirror Kisses, and I think before that, Kid's Garden. And he's also goes by fucking E-Spirit. He goes by a lot of names. He's been making music he's just a lover of music. I got introduced to George Clinton in 2018 when he put out Slide. And
Same.
yeah, if anyone knows me, Slide is a very big deal to me personally because it just means so much to me, as well as it's, just one of my favorite albums. Like, it's just a really good album. But to me,
I feel like you listen to it every day in 2018.
Yeah, in 2018, I did listen to that every day. And the context here is it came out right before my, a school semester in college. And I would literally, like, every day I would drive to school. I would go to some bullshit, programming class that I hated. And I would have no sleep. And I'd be, like, hyped up on caffeine. And I would just neurotically stumble my way out of the class, barely keeping my eyes open. But the only thing that was keeping me going was I had my earbuds in and I could listen to Slide by George Clinton. And this album it kept me alive. Like, as I was walking to the library, as I was sitting in the library doing some fucking homework that I hated, I had this album in my ears, and it's just that for me. It defined my college existence, and it kept me going in a time where I was just chaotically suffering in a courses that I didn't like. And so that was a big deal for me. And I still listen to that album. It's crazy. Like, I that might be one of the albums I've listened to the most. My Bloody Valentine's Loveless is up there too, but Slide is a really big deal to me. And also, it's funny that you mentioned that the album you were just talking about by James Blake is inspiring your upcoming album or project. The Slide and George Clinton's music in general, I think, it very much inspired my album that comes out tomorrow in some ways. But yeah, it took 5 years to get a new album. And it's not that George Clinton wasn't making any new music. He was. Technically, he put out an album with Nick Hexum, which is the singer of 311, in 2020. Personally, that shit is just not for me. Shout out to the fans of that. I'm not a hater. I was, very bereft of George Clinton content for 5 years because the only thing he was doing was putting out these tracks with Nick Hexum, and you'd put them on and you're like, damn, this instrumental, really good. This is George Clinton. I'm loving this. And then Nick Hexum gets on the beat. And you're like, God damn, I want to die. But, if you love Nick Hexum, shout out to you and the audience. I respect it, but I couldn't get into it, which was not a problem because I had Slide, and I could still listen to Slide every day. Ooh Rapaya came out this year. It was a 5-year drought between the last album. A lot of people thought it was going to be called Swing, or Stairs or something on a playground.
That's kind of funny.
But it wasn't. Yeah. It was called Ooh Rapaya, which is the fucking, like, craziest name for an album. I think it's supposed to be like, Ooh yeah, I rap, just kind of like mixed up, like jumbled up. I don't fucking know. The album cover is really cool. It's like this kind of clay thing. I think it's one of the coolest album covers I've ever seen, honestly. Yeah, it's not as good as Slide, but I think the only reason for that is because Slide for me means so much. I don't think anything can ever be as good as Slide, but it's still just a very amazing album. It's sort of it's a little more mature than Slide, which I kind of like that sort of edge to it. Like, there's this song, I've Been Young, which I think is, like, honestly a very mature, like, recounting of George's life, taking note of his missteps, like the things that have gone wrong or the mistakes he's made, especially over the past, like, 5 years. You know, he's gotten so much bigger. Like, I remember when Anthony Fantano reviewed Slide, and I was so excited for George because, like, he blew up from that. Like, that helped propel him. I think he was already propelling at that point.
Yeah.
Propelled him even more, and now he plays live. And again, this is another artist that I saw live this year as well, so I got to see him perform Slide stuff as well as Urapaya, and that was really transcendental as well. And yeah, I just, this album's really fun. It's really, really good. I'm just really into George Clanton. It's like one of the artists that inspires me the most. And yeah, I would play it when people would come over. I play it when I'm trying to get work done. I play it when I'm playing Tetris. Like, I don't know, it got me through a lot this year as well. And I have a feeling in 5 years when I'm looking back, whenever he makes his next album, which might have an even crazier title, I'm going to think that, you know, Urapaya got me through this year and through this period of my life. And so George Clanton just means a lot to me. It's just an artist that always just is in the back of my mind, always getting played over and over. I've played this album hundreds of times, and it's honestly the only album on this list that I have been listening to hundreds of times. So by far, this is my favorite album of 2023. Nothing even comes close. Bliss out and kick back. Listen to Urapaya. It's really good. It's fun. It's Y2K. It's chill. I highly recommend it.
That sounds like quite the pitch. I'm gonna have to check it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's very touching too, like what you were describing with this album and also Slide. I'm glad you have like that kind of golden artist for you.
Thank you.
So yeah, that's been us talking about our favorite albums of 2023.
Yeah, and
I don't know.
Please, like, put down in the comments, like YouTube or Spotify, like what some of your favorite albums are, because genuinely, like, I feel like I missed a lot of stuff. Even in your list, you know, there was a bunch of stuff that I hadn't even heard of. Please, like, give us some recommendations. I'm always looking for new music, especially
likewise.
Yeah, especially if you think it's something that I would like, you know, let me know. Also, like, put your top 5 albums down in the comments or whatever.
Love to hear everyone's top 5s, yeah.
We want this to become a forum, you know, that's the vibe.
That's the whole thing we're going for. And I will listen to what a lot of you guys are recommending because I need music for the gym.
There you go. Alex is trying to get swole.
That's when I do a lot of my listening.
That's fair, yeah.
Is at the gym. So, but yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of Music Posting. Follow us over on Twitter at musicpostingpod, where we will talk about the next album we're going to listen to. I'm going to pick one for Astrid.
Ooh.
And why don't you listen along with us, and we'll discuss on the next episode of Music Posting.
As always, this has been Music Posting. I'm Astrid.
I'm Alex.
See you later.
Later, skaters.
You always say later, skaters. It's so good.
It's the new catchphrase, I guess.
Bye.
See ya, alligator.